Conference Championships, NFL, Chiefs, Bills, my Philadelphia Eagles, Washington Commanders, a special edition of the Free Three as I break down these Conference Championship games, give you my best bets inside of them. Let's get into it. And you know what? Fly, Eagles, fly. This is the Free Three.
Will be going to the NFC Championship for the first time in 33 years.
Guys, with 2.5 to 12 years of fine, and then I lost the it is so.
Hurt my feelings. Some feelings are finna be hurt, trust me. And it's been a feeling that a lot of those Commanders fans, they haven't experienced it because they haven't gone this far. But trust me, us Philadelphia Eagles, we know what it's like to get to the big game and fall just short one too many times. But that's not going to happen this Sunday because it is bird time. It is our season. We're going all the way. I said it at the beginning of the year. You know what? I'm not even going to get into it. What's up, guys? It's your boy, Noble Living, back with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we just try to get to the bag together and get to that money. It's been an amazing NFL season for us here on the channel. I hope I've helped you guys make some money. We've shared in some great wins and some tough losses, and now we've come down to the point where there are 4 final teams fighting for a spot in the Super Bowl, going down to New Orleans to see who's going to take home that championship and crown. I think I can attest to what everybody else is feeling out there, which is we don't want to see the Chiefs three-peat. I mean, I'm sorry if I have any Kansas City fans who watch the show, but I'm just saying we want to see something a little bit different. Shout out to Patrick Mahomes. He's been incredible, and that's always great to see Andy Reid have an amazing success. I mean, obviously, as an Eagles fan, I want to see him do well, but we're ready for something different. We're tired of seeing the same teams over and over and over again compete for championships and win in the same exact way. And I think this is the season that we can get it because the high-profile offense of the Bills, led by MVP caliber talent Josh Allen, what can they do? Can they overcome the hump that has held them down for so long? And you know what hump that is. That's Kansas City in the playoffs. Josh Allen, 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the spread against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And now they have to go on the road, and it is a classic spot where the Bills beat them in the regular season. And now revenge is calling the Chiefs' name. What's going to happen, guys? Oh, my goodness. So many amazing storylines to break down today. And what I'm going to do real quickly on this special edition is tell you guys what I think is going to happen in both of these games and give you my corresponding best bets that are going to go with them. We're going to start with the first game of the day, my Philadelphia Eagles as they take on the Washington Commanders. This is a start at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. It's going to be an amazing atmosphere. It's going to be rocking. We were there last week in the snow, and to see how many fans were tailgating, partying, just having a great time for that game. Imagine for a shot with the Super Bowl on the line. I'm so upset that I didn't go. I almost went again this week, but I didn't go. And I believe, guys, that all the hype around Jaden Daniels has been warranted. It has been granted. He's an incredible talent. We saw that at Arizona State. I mean, it was solidified in the SEC at LSU, and now he's only coming to the NFL and had similar success. But one thing that we've done here in this modern day of sports, and not only with sports betting, but with media personalities, guys like Stephen A. and big network television, we have sung people's praises before they've necessarily earned it and deserved it. And I mean that in the most respectful and honest way, because highlight reels and show-stopping moves and plays are great for clicks. It's great for entertainment. It's great for selling tickets. But sometimes it doesn't correlate or correspond into winning and winning consistently. We've seen talent at a very young age been able to go far. We saw Joe Burrow go to a Super Bowl. And have they had success in recent years? No. We've seen it in other sports with players like John Moran, Anthony Edwards, we've seen where we give people a lot of credit. And it's like, hold on one second. If Jaden Daniels wins in Philadelphia after being underdog in back-to-back weeks And shout out to what he did against last week against the Lions, but I always thought the Lions were vulnerable. The defense was hurt. They were injured. You guys know that like I know that. And they had the bye week, the rest. It helped their offense a little bit, but you know what that does in terms of coming out rusty. And I gave out a stat last week to one of my buddies, and I told him when you have a spread, I think the numbers were in the last like 20 games where you had a favorite of more than a touchdown or more in the divisional, two first, like the number one seeds or with a first round bye, at least one of the teams have lost. And once the Chiefs win, I mean, it kind of made sense for the Lions to lose. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and Washington Commanders. This is where the season ends for the Commanders. And I don't say that biasly. I say that in all honesty. Because if you look at both of the regular season games, and we're going to pull up Doink Sports here, and we're going to look and break down this game between the Commanders and the Eagles here. And I know you guys are going to say, Noble, you're biased. Noble, you're a fan. You think the Eagles are going to go all the way. It's not even that. It's just this is the best dream scenario for the Eagles when the playoffs were drawn up. The Lions lose. We wanted to face the Commanders at some point. It just so happened that we had to face them this round instead of last round. We had to face the Rams. That was the toughest test. The Rams are a tougher team than the Commanders in all honesty. But this Eagles team against the Commanders, we can look at it head to head, right? If I zoom in here, the Eagles lost a few weeks ago 36-33. This was the game where Jalen Hurts left the game after 3 plays with a concussion, and he missed the corresponding games. There was a backup quarterback, and it took literally the last drive in order for Jaden Daniels to put together a game-winning touchdown play. Don't give him credit. I'm not bashing it because he performed. He did what he had to do. But he was also flushed in that game. He had 2 interceptions inside that game. Yes, he had 5 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions. And if it wasn't for a drop pass by Devontae Smith, we would never be having this conversation. The Eagles would have won both of the regular season games between these two teams. And what are we talking about? Not just the home field advantage for the Eagles is such a tough place to play, but it's the experience on the sidelines. It is the players who have been here before. It is the running attack with Saquon Barkley. Truthfully, and this is the thing that a lot of people are not accounting for, Jaden Daniels is only impactful if he's on the field. We saw in a game earlier this season where Pittsburgh only got 3 possessions in the second half, did not touch the ball for the remaining 10 minutes of the fourth quarter. Do you not think the Eagles are willing to do that in a close game? If Saquon doesn't bust a long touchdown and milk the clock, Jalen Hurts this, Jalen Hurts that. So, what's the pick, Noble? I'm not going to go Eagles spread even though they're going to win. I'm going to take the classic Noble bet. We're going to go with the tease piece here. We're going to take the Eagles down from -6 to half a point, just the money line, just win the game. And we're going to take the under 53.5. The elements should play a factor here. You can see right here in probability 54% to go towards the under here. Okay, Eagles at home this year. That's against the spread. I want to see the over-under numbers. Let me see real quickly if we go to the over-under numbers. 44. And this one landed at 69. But again, that was like more of a shootout. This is the playoffs. Okay. Let's see here. If we go to the playoffs, obviously the Commanders had 76 last week. But again, shootout. 43 last week against the Bucs. Meanwhile, for the Eagles, they're trying to make it muddy. 32 against Green Bay, 50 last week against the Rams. That's why we're going to tease it here. We lost last week by 1 point on that teaser. And, Saquon didn't want to slide that time, but, that was a tough loss, right? And that was looking like an under game all the way up until, the snow really picked up, which should not be a factor tomorrow. So, and I also read a stat that, and this is, I'll pull it up while we're here. Action Network did a really good piece on just like a breakdown of the NFL here. So let me go here to Action real quick. So you guys, I would go through this if I were you guys. Like, take a look at it, read it. It has some pretty good like numbers, statistics, values, things of that nature, right? And it kind of breaks down some of the situations, like how big of an underdog, what's the numbers against the spread, things of that nature, right? But in conference championship games, it's more towards the under, and the Eagles have been playing under games. So we're going to go Eagles on the tease piece here. We're going to go here And then the spread at -6.5, and then we're also going under 53.5. When you tease it, you can get at -120 for 1 unit down. So you get to half a point, you get under 53.5. Don't overthink it, right? I know it's a lot of offense, but I don't see how the Eagles are going to survive in a shootout, and I don't see Sirianni getting into a shootout, in all honesty. But I do think points are going to be scored. And if points are going to be scored, one of the people I want to look at is Mr. Dallas Goedert. And I'm going to go over 38.5 receiving yards. So let's look at this recent game log for Dallas Goedert. We can see last week against the Rams, he had 56 yards. The game before that against the Packers, 47 yards. The game before that against the Giants, 55 yards. And then against Baltimore, 35 yards. So Dallas Goedert, one of the things that he does is he doesn't only catch the ball, but he has long catches. So now we have a line at 38.5. Now it's at 40.5, bumped up. But we can still see he's consistently gone over in 6 of the last 10 games that he's played. He obviously missed some time with an injury, but he said he's going to lace up, he's going to play. I like his longest reception as well, over 15.5. I would play both of them. But for us, we're going to go receiving yards because we know A.J. Brown is going to be the player that the defense is going to hone in on single-handedly. And then from there, Devontae Smith should get some one-on-one looks, but we know Goddard is the safety valve for Jalen Hurts, and right now Jalen Hurts is not testing those deep throws, in all honesty. He's not really trying to stretch the field. He's going to take 1 or 2 shots. Most times it's going to be either a dime or some type of pass interference or some type of penalty drawing type of throw, but the tight end has been his safety valve. And Goddard against the Commanders as well, we could see that he had 61 receiving yards against them on the 14th. He's gone over this number in 4 of 8 games against them inside of his career. I like to see the 4 receptions here, even though he went underneath this yardage, 36 yards, so he barely missed. That's not bad at all. And when you look at some of the tight ends for the Commanders, last week we saw Sam Laporta had 51 yards against them. I like that. Kadon's not really a big factor, but longest reception, over 20 yards. Let's see. Kyle Pitts, 44 receiving yards, and that's not somebody who's a big focal point, right? So you can kind of see some of the big receiving tight ends have been able to eat against the Commanders. I like Goddard today. It's a low number. We're going to lock that in as our second best bet inside of this game. So we've got 2 best bets so far. We've got the tease piece. We also have Dallas Goedert receiving yards here. You can see the line is actively moving. We're going to lock this one in for 1 unit down. Now, if you do want to go receptions, I'm not opposed to that, but I would also do the longest reception. I'm going to do this for half a unit. So you can see we get at -105. So I'm going to risk 50 at half a unit here for that on longest reception. Final best bet inside of that game. I'm not saying Jaden Daniels is going to be a non-factor. I'm not saying he's not going to ball out, because he is. So because he's going to play well, and he's going to give his team a shot. But it's like what I've said the last few games for the Eagles. Both games, everybody's talking about how the Rams were 1 play away from winning. They were close, but Eagles were handily winning that game for 95% of the game. They just mismanaged the clock at the end. Same thing with the first round game. So what am I looking at here? Jaden Daniels over 22.5 pass yards. I did want to go pass attempts, but we're just going to stick with the passing yards. And the reason why we're going to stick with the passing yards here is because Jaden Daniels has the ability to stretch the field with the long ball, and he's taken those shots in the playoffs, which is one of the reasons why they were able to beat the Lions last week. We saw Terry McLaurin with a huge reception. You can see he had 58 yards, and last week he had 35-yarder against Tampa Bay. Against us in a few weeks ago, week 17, he had 51-yarder, okay? So I don't want to take the attempts, and he's not on the field for long. You can see here at 32.5, he's only gone over that in 5 of 10. But if we look at the 220.5, he's gone over that in 6 of 10. So I like this a little bit better, and he's gone over in back-to-back of playoff games, which gives me a little bit of confidence, and it's a lower number. Last week, one of my best bets was Stafford's passing yards, and we saw Stafford throw for 324. This Eagles defense, it says, we're not going to allow you to get behind us, and I really don't see Jaden Daniels running on them a lot either. Now, 16, 13 attempts, I can see that happening, but I see it being 5 yards, 4 yards, 8 yards. I would take his longest rush under 15.5 as well. You could see the Eagles, if we go to the rushing quarterbacks, Lamar had a 39-yarder, right? Jaden Daniels had a 29-yarder. But in the first matchup, he only had a 7-yarder. And this is just the last 10 games. If we zoom out a little bit here and we go look at the last 30 games here, Dak, 6-yarder. Patrick Mahomes, that's a 14-yarder. Josh Allen, he had a 19-yarder. That's back. Hold on. Let's look at this season. Sorry. Bryce Young, only 11-yarder. Russell Wilson, he doesn't really take off much anymore, only an 8-yarder. So I don't know if you want to take the longest rush just because they haven't faced a whole lot of scrambling quarterbacks. Burrow, 8. Daniel Jones, 9 is his longest, and he's more of a running quarterback as well. Deshaun Watson, only 6 was his longest rush. So I do lean under longest rush, but this pass yards is just a little bit too low. Vic Mangino, what he's going to do, limit the long ball, keep it in front of him. As long as Jaden Daniels is patient, which he wasn't last time they played, which is why he threw 2 interceptions. But I think he can learn from those 2 interceptions, and he had 5 touchdowns. He had 258 last time. I think this is the look. If you want to take the attempts at 32.5, I'm not opposed to it. But 220.5, I really like that. That's going to be our third best bet of the day. So recap for the NFC Championship real quickly. Let me lock this in between the Commanders and the Eagles. We've got 3 best bets, really 4 that we're going to go with. We're going to go with Jaden Daniels over, now it's at 230 here, so we'll take that. The lines are moving quick. You can tell. I mean, it's a popular game. That's going to happen. We're sweating out a few bets right now in college basketball because I'm recording this the day before. But we've got 4 best bets going so far. Dallas Goedert over 41 receiving yards. Dallas Goedert longest reception over. I would try to get 16.5 here. We've got Jaden Daniels over 229.5, and then we've got the teaser here. This is what we're going with, and in the Eagles-Commanders game. And let's dive into the Bills and Chiefs real quick. Bills, Chiefs. Kansas City at home spread is 2. We got a total at 48.5. So what are we looking at here inside this game? I'm not going to yap as much on this game as the other one because obviously I'm an Eagles fan. I love to talk about them. This is just one of those games, guys. I don't know what to say. I don't want to put my money on Mahomes, but Mahomes at home has been a wagon, okay? If you go to Action and you go to what I showed you guys before and you go take a look at this Action betting premiere, they're not even telling me to promote this, but you can look at it. When Mahomes off the road, it's tough to beat him. In January and February, Mahomes is 15-2 straight up in homer neutral site games. Only losses coming to Burrow and Brady. He's 43-6 straight up in November or later. 7-0 straight up and against the spread as an underdog. He wins in January. He wins in February. It's what the guy does. And I don't want to lose coinage betting with my heart and saying I want the Bills. The Bills vs. Eagle is the Super Bowl the fans want to see. It is the best fans in the world. It is the bet fans. It's the game that people want. But betting against the Chiefs at Arrowhead is just not smart. And like I mentioned in the opening monologue, Josh Allen against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, it's like catching a falling knife at this point. If there's a team that can do it this season, I believe it is this Bills team because of how they're made up. Now, the injuries that they're facing in the secondary is going to be a problem. I am not going to lie. It's going to give Patrick Mahomes just even, I won't say an easier time, but we have to worry about the refs as well. These are all things that we have to think about. But what am I going to do? I'm going to take the safe route here. And I'm just going to isolate this to a team total because the way that I look at it is the Bills are going to be competitive. The Bills are going to have a chance to win. I want the Bills to win. I want them to have a chance to win. And if they're going to have a chance to win, they're going to have to score points. And if they're going to score points, I don't know if this game is going to go over, but I do think the bet that we're going to take a look at is the Bills team total over 23.5. Now, I got this bet actually because Doing Sports actually brought this to my attention, so I want to pull it up real quickly to see if we can look at it real quick. Bills. Okay, team total over 23.5. You can see right here, the Bills have gone over this team total in 9 of the last 10 games. So not too bad. I get it. It's the playoffs. You're counting regular season, Noble. I get it. But they had 27 points last week against the Ravens. They had 31 points in the first round against the Broncos. And you could see they've gone over this number again in 9 of the last 10. So their offense has moved efficiently. And I love the fact against Kansas City, granted that game was at home, but they scored 30 points against them, and they've played this team before. They've played this defense before. Meanwhile, Kansas City, they've only played one playoff game, and it was against C.J. Stroud and the Texans, and they gave up 14 points in that game. But it was weak from C.J. Stroud. It was weak. It was not Josh Allen. It was not this offense. It's not one of the top-rated offenses in all the country this past season. This Chiefs defense is legit. They are. But anytime they've stepped up in class this season in a way, we saw Cincinnati, 25 points. Tampa Bay, 24 points. Bills, 30 points. Denver, 38 points. And that was the backups, though. Like, what offense have they faced? When you look at the strength of schedule, Baltimore, week 1. Let's keep looking. Atlanta, Chargers, New Orleans, San Francisco this season. The Bills is the only offense that they faced this season that we can say with pure confidence is like that of an offense. They faced Pittsburgh after they figured out Wilson. Like, look at this. The Panthers scored 27 on them. This is going to be the first real test, in a sense, for this defense. We know Steve Spagnuolo loves to blitz. When you blitz, it gives one-on-one coverage. The blitz beater is a player like Josh Allen who's willing to use his legs, who's willing to run. You look at the playoffs, 28 points per game they're averaging in the playoffs, and that's over the last several seasons. This is in the Sean McDermott era. 8 of 10, 80%, 27 points, 31, 24 last year against KC, 36 in 2022 against KC, 24 against 20 in KC against 2021, which are all games Josh Allen's played in. Not overthinking it. Bills team total, if they lose 27-24, 26-24, whatever. But I think they scored 24 points, and this could be the game-winning field goal, 24-21 final score, and it stays under, but we still overhit the team total. That's our best-case scenario. That's what I think is happening in this game. Because I got the Bills team total, I'm just going to stick with the Bills player props. And the first player prop that I'm going to take a look at here is Mr. James Cook over 14.5 rushing attempts. Now, this is not going to be a popular pick, and I understand that. But James Cook, I think this number is a little bit too low, and I think this is what makes this Bills team different this season than in other years. They've understood that for them to be successful, Josh Allen cannot always be the hero. They have to incorporate other players, and this has been the season where they put the ball in James Cook's hand and said, hey, man, like, lead us to the promised land, especially in the red zone. You can see he scored a touchdown in 8 of the last 10 games. If you want to take his anytime touchdown at plus 140, I'm not opposed to that. But he's gone under this number in 4 of the last 10 games, but he's gone over it in both of the playoff games so far. 23 in game 1, that was a blowout, but 17 last week in a very competitive game against the Ravens. That's what gives me confidence here and says this number's a little bit too low. I know he went under in the game against KC in November, but this is the reason why I like this. Because if you look at Josh Allen's numbers, let's pull up Josh Allen real quick. And one of the bets that I do have I'm going to show you guys real quick for my third bet, is Josh Allen's pass attempts. I think you should take that as well, but I'm going to change it to actually probably Josh Allen's completions. But when you look at the numbers for Josh Allen so far in the playoffs, 22 pass attempts last week, 26 pass attempts against Denver. Now, I believe that Josh Allen's going to have to throw the ball. Now, if you look at Josh Allen in the playoffs, especially against Kansas City, 37 attempts, 48 attempts, 39 attempts. You have to throw the ball against Kansas City. Hence why I have the team total over 23.5. But I do believe what makes this Bills team different this year is they understand they can run the ball, they can trust to run the ball, they can milk the clock. And that's where James Cook over 14.5 rush attempts comes in. So I think we're getting it at plus money value here, plus 111, which I really, really do like. And then if you look at some of the running backs, like last week, Joe Mixon, 18 carries for 88 yards. They were tearing them up on the ground. But the problem was they could not get stopped, so they couldn't stop turning over the ball. So that was the problem. But Joe Mixon was eating. In week 1, no, that was last weekend of the regular season. So the way I'm basically playing this here is if it's not James Cook, it's Josh Allen, even though I do believe it's both of them. So I would ladder Josh Allen's pass attempts in all honesty, because I think he still throws it 38, 40 times. And I think James Cook, 14.5 is just a little bit too low of a number, because I believe we can get them both. But if we're going to be limited on plays, it is the playoffs, so let's not be greedy. I believe that we need to go Josh Allen's completions. So I know this says pass attempts, but I believe that we need to go over 20 completions, 20.5 completions, because you can see Josh Allen in the playoffs gone over 8 of the last 10 games in completions. And the reason why I say the completions over attempts is because this is one of those games as well where Spagnola's blitzing. You hit somebody, you dump it off on a screen to James Cook. He takes it to the house. Quick slant patterns. Dawson Knox. So that's why I'm changing from pass attempts to completions. And I think completions are on this popular tab here. He's gone over this in 5 of the last 5 games against Kansas City, and Kansas City's allowing 20.5 pass completions to 8 of the last 10 quarterbacks, averaging about 22.1. So I'm going to go Josh Allen's completion. So let's lock this in real quickly here. And then we're going to go James Cook's rush attempts. And then we're also going to go Bills team total. That is what we're taking. If you're a Chiefs fan, I'm sorry. This video really wasn't for you. Now, I'm not saying that, but this is my hedge off of the Chiefs. The Chiefs win. I don't know how they do it. They could do it on the ground. We've seen Mahomes sometimes not throw the ball a lot. It's going to happen with Travis Kelce. Anytime touchdown, it can happen. I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that I think the side that makes sense is to bet with the Bills and say, you know what, this is going to be a team that understands their window is closing. And if Josh Allen's the MVP that everybody heralds him as, this is the time for him to get it done. So for us, on this championship Sunday, guys, these are the 7 plays that we've locked in. You added plays will be here on Action, so make sure you guys are following us here. But Dallas Goedert's receiving yards, Dallas Goedert's longest reception, Jalen Daniels passing yards. We're taking the Eagles in a teaser and the under in the teaser. We're going to take Buffalo's team total over 23.5. Josh Allen's pass completions, and we're going to take James Cook's rush attempts. That is what we're locking in, and I believe that's going to be a great championship Sunday. Appreciate you guys for tapping in. It is your boy Noble Living, and as always, fly Eagles fly, go Birds. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys think and what your favorite plays are of the day. I want to take Saquon, I really do, but it's just so juiced. It's so popular now, and that's just the reason why you have to take some of these players, take some of these different lines, because of just how popular some of these plays have gotten, as disappointing as that sounds, right? So, special edition. Appreciate y'all tapping in as always, and let's get to that cheddar. Dictate your fate. Is your boy Noble Living, and I'll see y'all in tomorrow's video. Later, guys.